Hello, my name is Zachary with Old Man Gaming. Welcome to another Snap Judgment review. What's a Snap Judgment review if you've never listened? Well, I think reviewers get a little caught up in completing or near 100%ing games before they do a review, and they forget what it's like to just play it right in the beginning. So I play a game for about 5 to 10 hours tops, and then I am just trying to give you an idea whether you're going to enjoy it right off the bat or not. Now, that, coupled with the fact that I also think games are one of the most subjective forms of art, I will not be giving you a score. Instead, I will be telling you an overview of what the game is, then I'll be listing the pros and the cons of the game from my point of view, as all reviews are, and then I will be telling you whether I personally will be sticking with this game or DLC outside the purposes of this review. So today, I am reviewing Grounded 2 finally. I'm a little bit behind on this, and there's a reason for that, because I have one final disclaimer very specific to this game. I fell off on Grounded. I ended up kind of walking away from it, deciding it just wasn't for me, and I don't want to bash on it because I think it's an overall good game, but there was too heavy a foundation put on the survival aspects. It was not streamlined as well. So, in fairness, I have not finished Grounded. I did not play the 1.0 version or any versions after that. Like I said, I just walked away. So, I was a little apprehensive to play this. I know people have been really enjoying it. I don't like to give bad reviews, so I don't, which means that me playing a game that I don't like is a waste of time, so I try not to do that. Grounded 2 pleasantly surprised me, but keep in mind that anything I quote as new may have been in the last version, and I just didn't stick with it long enough to know. So what's Grounded 2? Grounded 2 is a continuation of Grounded 1. Surprisingly, it is the exact 4 teenagers from the first game getting shrunk again under ridiculous circumstances. There's a nice cutscene to open the game, which I don't even think we had that in the early access of the first Grounded. It kind of explains where you are from there, and then you head right into the tutorial stuff. Instead of being in a backyard, you are in a park. I think it's Brookhaven Park, something like that. And of course, this is the early access section of the game. They are back in the early access, so only a couple of sections are there. There's a lot of roped off areas to the park, which we will discuss a little bit later in the cons. And much like Grounded 1, this is a survival crafting game. The survival aspects are a little bit more lenient than some of the other survival games out there. But you have to eat food. You have to hunt for that food, forage for that food. You have to drink water to abate thirst. Another thing you have to find. And then, of course, you build everything from ground up by foraging materials, raw resources, and building materials in order to survive, craft your home, your little miniaturized grass home, and other tools, weapons, equipment, armor to keep you alive. In doing this, the whole plot kind of envelops. There is a bad guy this time around. I don't want to give any spoilers, but I found that very interesting. And there is some reason that you're shrunk, and again, you have to figure out the mystery of it so that you can get unshrunk. There are a host of new features that they've added into this game other than just the new map, and we're going to go over those in the pros because a lot of them are really good, but that's the game. It's the same thing. It's Grounded over again, in a lot of ways better, and we're going to talk about that. So I think that we're going to skip the rest of the overview. You guys get it, I think. So we're going to go right to the pros because I have a lot to say in this department. One of the biggest reasons I walked away from Grounded is I found it incredibly difficult to know what I was supposed to be doing. And maybe that's just my own stupidity. But there was a lot of times where I'm like, I don't know how to fight this thing. I don't even know how to craft a thing that would help me fight that thing. And I found myself going to the internet a lot to figure stuff out. In addition to that, I found the combat was had weird difficulty spikes that like you would be doing fine and then all of a sudden somebody would one-shot you and you not know why. And let's not even talk about the original bugs and issues that plagued Grounded 1's initial early access release. I mean, there was a bug that made it impossible to drink water, which made it pretty impossible to play the game. There was a lot of issues early on that you had to kind of fight through to get to the good stuff. And then when you got to the good stuff was extremely challenging. And again, had insane difficulty spikes that came out of nowhere. Plus, they had these weird challenge systems for getting raw science to get things. And I found those challenge systems from incredibly difficult to also sparse. So, while I think Grounded 1 overall was a great game, it just ended up not being for me, and that's okay. That being said, this game, in my opinion, rights all those wrongs, at least personally. And again, I don't want to shit on Grounded 1. It's a lot of people's favorite game. I think a lot of people enjoyed it. I don't have any hate for it. It just, for me, there was a lot of negatives. Those negatives are gone in this. There is a fluidity to this game, and that's my first pro is the fluidity. The challenges are right there. They're already being tracked. You can easily see them at the top of the screen or in your menu. Your menu is refined so that you can switch through it much easier. The options are more well defined, and you can see them easier. The mutations are well defined, and you can see them easier. Everything is explained much better right off the bat. It doesn't necessarily take away from the challenge either. But at the same time, when I was playing Grounded 1, a lot of times I felt like I was dying because I didn't know something. This one, if you're dying, it's because you failed to play good. And that I'm okay with. Like I said, the tutorial right off the bat shows you, oh, look at how well we're going to do this fluidity. You get raw science from these challenge missions. It's just made so easy and quick, and the story is so much better defined that gives you a little bit more direction, at least in the beginning, so that you understand kind of what you're supposed to be doing and how you're supposed to be, building your equipment and upgrading your stuff, without necessarily taking away your creative license to it too. And that I enjoyed. Since I already talked about in the first one, let's just get into my next pro as the plot. The plot of Grounded 1 was non-existent in the beginning, to the point where the developers straight up said, hey, we're letting the people and their suggestions help us define what the plot is. I think that's cool in its own right. This one is much more defined. They have a very clear objective. There is an actual potential villain, or at least an antagonist. Who knows if that antagonist stays the villain. But you have this really great, omniscient corporate lady that you're contacting with, and she is hysterical in her kind of ignorant evil, which I think is awesome, and she delivers an amazing voiceover performance. I didn't look up her name before I started doing this review, but you better believe it's going to be in my nominations at the end of the year for best performance. Then you also have this unnamed antagonist voice who seems to be like a ranger gone bad, because this evil corporation was already shrinking a ton of people now, and they had this ranger program which allowed people to kind of go out and research bugs and stuff. She looks like a bad one of those, and I think that's really cool. I think the idea of giving you a little bit more direction than just this play box to play in, I kind of enjoy. I didn't know that I was going to enjoy it as much as I do, but I do. My next big pro is going to be the Omni tool. So part of the fluidity comes from this, and it could be considered in that pro. But I want to specifically point this one out because I love the Omni tool. In Grounded 1, to harvest things, you had to build tools. Most crafting games work this way. To mine stuff, you have to build pickaxe. To cut stuff down, you have to build an axe. To fish, you have to build a fishing pole. To shovel, to dig stuff, you have to build a shovel. And then each one of those has different levels that you have to find different stuff for. With this, they're like, hey, let's just put all of that into one and call it a day. So there is the Omni tool. It is your wrench, your shovel, your hammer, and your axe. And then they can upgrade as you go on by earning raw science and some specific crafting supplies that allow you to chop down or break bigger things. And that's it. You have it. It's one button. That's your harvesting button. I loved this so much better. I cannot count the number of times in Grounded 1 I have accidentally hurled an axe into the woods. I can't count the number of times I have accidentally tried to attack an ant with nothing but a shovel. I can't count the number of times I have accidentally tried to cut down grass with a spear. This takes that out. There's a button. You hit that button. That button is the harvesting button. It brings up your Omni tool. It does what it needs to do. If you need a hammer, it becomes a hammer and it hammers. If you need a shovel, it becomes a shovel and it shovels. This is a game changer for me. It makes the game, it allows me to focus on the fun of it and not get into my head about all the different button changes and equipment changes and hot item lists and all that sort of thing. I can just worry about crafting, or I can just worry about harvesting when I need to harvest because I'm harvesting, period. To add on to that, you can also harvest through bug riding, which we'll get into in a second. But like, this Omni tool is great. More crafting games need to do this, in my opinion. I would be more into them if they had this Omni tool type thing, because I found this incredibly enjoyable and incredibly fulfilling. Again, if this was somehow in Grounded 1 and I just didn't get around to it, pardon me, because like I said, I did not finish Grounded 1, but I love this thing. That brings me to my last pro, which is bug riding. I don't actually have footage of me bug riding because my footage is very early footage, so please forgive me of that, but you can find footage of the bug riding all over the internet, so just go check it out. You can ride either an ant or a spider. I never unlocked the spider, but I did unlock the ant, and it is awesome. First of all, when they announced bug riding, I'll go back even to Grounded, because everybody has been requesting taming and riding bugs since Grounded started. It has been one of the biggest requests, and they've never done it. And personally, I've never requested it. And here's why. Because almost every game I play where I tame and then ride an animal, the shit is buggy as hell. I run into things. I run over people. I have a hard time understanding the controls and how to operate them. Combat on top of them is difficult and annoying. I almost never do whatever I need to do to get, mounts in games, because I find having a mount irritating as all hell. Not to mention the fact, I think having a mount also oftentimes allows you to skip over stuff and not see the scenery that the developer has created for you, something that I dislike about fast travel systems. So I tend to avoid that stuff. The bug riding in this game is phenomenal. I am going to go ahead and say, for me personally, it is the best mounted system I have ever messed with in my life. Granted, like I said, I've avoided a lot of them, but I like this better than riding a horse in Red Dead. I love this mounted system. You get this, first of all, the ant is endlessly useful. Not only does he have like a speed burst, he allows you to traverse the land quite quicker and faster and easier, which is really nice. He will fight alongside you, which is amazing. It's a game changer for solo play, because Grounded is incredibly difficult in combat when you're alone, and now you have an ant to help you out. I love that part. I immediately bonded with this ant. The only thing I will say is I can't name the ant, which drives me nuts. You can pet him, but even more so than that, he will cut stuff down with his beaks, so you can actually pick up building supplies. He has a gather mode, which allows you to collect stuff kind of extremely fast in an area. So if you go to say get a bunch of clover for like a building, and you go to a clover field, he could just chop each one of those down in one, whereas your axe would take 3 shots, and you could just chop like 6 of them down, and then he can just hoover them up into his inventory and you're done. And yes, he has his own inventory, meaning he has another like 20 slots of inventory stuff, which is a huge issue with these games. It's always an issue with these games because you can never carry enough stuff, and you always end up hitting this point where you're like, I gotta go back to the base and deposit all this stuff. You've got an ant buddy who's got all this stuff on here. The ant is amazing. I cannot say how happy I was when I started riding that thing. Like, I was almost like, oh, I've got to get the ant. Okay, I'm sure that this game's going to be centered around the mounting, so I'm going to get irritated by it. And the minute I was on that ant, I was like, this is phenomenal. And then when he started fighting alongside me, and the combat on his back is good and receptive. Like, the game, the bug riding is amazing. I'm going to say that one last time. I'm going to go to the last pro that I have, which is combat. One of the things I did not like about Grounded 1 was the combat. I don't know how to explain how Grounded 2's combat is different from Grounded 1. And in fact, it might not have been by the time Grounded 1 was finished. But the animations are so much easier to define. Understanding when an enemy is going to attack is easier to define. Things are more easier seen and defined instead of just herches and gurches and lurches and stuff like that. In Grounded 1, I sometimes had a hard time knowing what was an attack and what was just somebody like moving. And it got frustrating to a point where I play Monster Hunter and I kill monsters that I shouldn't be able to kill because I find that I'm pretty good at games. But you can't get good at a system that doesn't make sense. Don't get me wrong, I know a lot of people love Grounded and are very good at the combat. It just never clicked for me. And I always felt like it was because everything was so understated in it that I could never figure out quite what was going on. In this game, it is so much better in my opinion. Not to mention the fact fighting on a mount is good. Like, I loved the fighting on a mount. I didn't think I was going to. But every animation makes sense. It's clear. It's well crafted. When I'm fighting a bug and he kills me, he killed me because I screwed up. It is much easier to see what I am doing, and for that I really, really, really enjoy the game, and it is keeping me coming back. Now we're going to talk about a couple of quick cons before we end this thing. Again, I really like this game. It's on my short list for Experience of the Year right now. So it's hard to really find something I don't like about it. So I'm going to say two nitpicky, ultra nitpicky things I didn't find great about it. And I'm going to say right now, neither one of them are frame rate dips or bugs or crashes. I'm playing it on a PC. My graphics card is a little bit older, but I'm playing it on an SSD. I have experienced no game crashes. There are some frame rate dips here and there, and I do want you all to keep in mind I'm still early, so I don't have a massive base. I just have a very small base I'm working out of. That being said, I haven't seen any significant frame rate drops, just a couple here and there, and I've never experienced a crash. And again, though, I've never played for more than 5 hours in a sitting. Honestly, my longest sitting is probably about an hour, 2 hours. So keep that in mind. But I'm not going to quote that because this is an early access game, and I think it's actually really performs really well for an early access game. So, first con, running. I don't like how they do running. So you click it, it's the normal depress the analog stick and your character goes into run. But when your character stops, it doesn't stop the run. So your stamina doesn't refresh. And then when you start moving again, you just start running again. I don't like this. It has led to me getting killed a couple of times because I'm running to get somewhere and then I stop seeing the monster ahead of me that I want to fight to try and let my stamina refresh. It refreshes a little bit. Then I move towards the monster and it takes up half my stamina running there when I didn't mean to run there. I would much rather running automatically stop when you stop as a character and me have to re-engage the running. I don't like to just toggle it on and off. I find that irritating, and it's led to me getting killed more times than I'd like to admit. And then the step back. This is real nitpicky, and I think this is going to be corrected in the long time. So if you're watching this, 2 or 3 years after Grounded 2 has come out, this might not even be there anymore. But I think, personally, I was expecting when they did Grounded 2 for it to be early access, but I expected to at least see all the content we had already seen in Grounded 1 make it into Grounded 2 plus extra. They have obviously added the extra, as I have said, but there are some glaring missing things. There's a lot of bugs that aren't here to fight, a lot of life forms that just aren't there. There's a lot of areas that were interesting in the first one that you had to get around that aren't there, specifically the gas area and stuff. There's some new areas, like new environmental stuff, which I think is cool. But just like, it feels like there was like 3 steps forward and 2 back when it comes to the content. And again, I think all of it's going to make it in the long run. If this game continues to be successful and continues to build, I think we're going to see everything in there eventually. There's just a few bugs that I'm pretty sure aren't in here that didn't quite make it in, even though they added some new ones. And I think that's a little bit of down. So, whether or not I'm going to stick with it, I think you guys guessed it. I am. This is a short list for my my experience of the year right now. I am shocked at how much I am enjoying this game. Grounded 1, even when I was loving it, I was kind of pushing myself to play it. This one I'm not. It is a dream. I can't wait to get back to it. And it was hard for me to stop playing it to do this review. So hopefully that helps you guys out. Did you guys think I got it right, get it wrong? You can comment below, let me know. You can also join our Discord, links in the description below. Influence listen of all of our shows from there. As long as you guys keep watching and listening, I will keep making them. See you guys next time.